How do you prep for, deliver, and follow up for a value review with your customers? Now, a value review is a structured, forward-looking conversation to prove outcomes, show ROI, and align on the next plan. And I want to emphasize it's a conversation, not a slide presentation. So how do you prep for, deliver, and follow up for these important value reviews? So preparation starts 7 to 10 business days before, where you send your customers some simple questions, and it can be in an email, where you ask about top priorities. You should have their success outcomes defined in their success plans, right? So you want to say, hey, what's working, what's not working, what's changed, and what would make this meeting a win. So you get that information. You also want to confirm who's going to attend, the outcomes they need, and who must be in the room for decisions, and who will own follow through. So again, it's not a bunch of information. It's a conversation with decisions. And then 3 to 5 days before, you're going to draft the value story, emphasizing why you chose us, what's the progress that you made, and what is next. And then you put the agenda together, and your agenda should answer one question that will help your customers realize even more value in the next quarter. And a question for you is, how can you present this in just one slide, maybe at the most 2, so that the focus of the meeting is on discussion and not on presenting slides? Then you and if there's any usage metrics, you only include those as context related to the priorities that your customers are trying to achieve. They're supporting evidence, not headlines. Then you send the agenda and the slide in advance with the decisions you intend to make together. So people get a chance to pre-read, they get to consider the agenda, and you ask them, hey, is there anything you want to add, remove, or change on the agenda? So then you have your review meeting. And you always start with the agenda. And I learned in the book, The Trusted Advisor, you ask at the very beginning of the meeting when you're going through the agenda, what else should we discuss today? Or what do we want to accomplish with today's meeting? And asking that simple question is very powerful because it's telling your customers that you are having a conversation, that you're open to knowing what's on their mind, and it lets them know that you are in this together. It's a joint effort, and this meeting is mutually beneficial. Then you cover the context and outcomes. So you talk about a value recap of 2 to 3 measurable outcomes since the last value review, and what you did together that created those outcomes, and explore what the results are lagging and why. And then you look at a reality check. Hey, how are things going? What's blocking adoption or value realization? What's changed in your priorities, resourcing, or constraints? And where do you want more confidence, more help? And then together you define the next value plan, which includes the top 3 priorities for the next 90 days, plays to run that may leverage best practices from similar customers, with owners, dates, and required actions. And then you have a commitment and a close where you really define the actions you're taking, the owners, the dates, and you schedule the next value review. And then finally, you have the follow-up. And this is where most teams drop the ball. Within 24 hours, you must send a 1-page recap with outcomes achieved, decisions made, the top risks, and an action plan with owners and dates. And then within 7 days, it's really great to deliver a quick win, at least one meaningful action that was brought up in the meeting and an action that the customers will notice, so that you get some momentum on building trust. So you're not just documenting things, you're taking action. To dive deeper, read a great series of articles on value reviews from Foresight, and check out ChurnZero has an article and a webinar on how to create just one slide for these review meetings so you focus on conversations. And let me know how I can help you.